So here we go. Let's get into this real quick. All right, so Attorney Walter Hnot here, and what we're going to be going through is essentially artificial intelligence and the Social Security Administration. A lot of you are, well, let's just say you're not part of the AI revolution, and you're not like, wow, this is amazing. But the bottom line is, a lot of you fear AI, and there's a lot of great things that can come from AI. There's some really, pretty much earth-ending things that can come from it too. But the bottom line here is that AI is hyper-woven into the Social Security Administration now, and a lot of you don't realize how hyper-woven artificial intelligence is into the Social Security Administration. So what I want to do is kind of give you a general understanding of what's going on with artificial intelligence and a general understanding as to how they're using it at the SSA for everything like retirement benefits, disability benefits, supplemental security income benefits, widows benefits, etc. I do have actually here with me the official enterprise artificial intelligence strategy documentation from the SSA. Basically, this was their September 2025 initiative agenda. I do have their maturity assessment where AI is at with their 5-level system. So we're going to go through that. But you should, by the end of this, be not an expert in AI in the SSA, but you should have a general understanding as to what's going on, where it's going, and what the future of it really holds for you. Now, it is Sunday. I know I look a little disheveled. That's because I got to sleep in a little bit, which is very, very nice. Let's get into this real quick. All right, so AI, quote, artificial intelligence holds the potential to drive economic growth in the United States and improve the quality of life for all Americans. That's from the SSA's official AI page. Quote, these AI programs, which the agency deployed with little consultation with Congress, advocates, or other key stakeholders, appear to have been developed in haste and represent a troubling pattern that, if continued, would significantly impede Americans' ability to access their Social Security and supplemental security income benefits. That was Senator Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Bernie Sanders in a 2025 letter to Commissioner Frank Bisignano, who, as you know, is the major Trump pick for leading the Social Security Administration going forward. It wasn't an acting, it was a full-on Senate-approved commissioner. Quote, we have also received reports of service issues from constituents, advocates, and key stakeholders, such as the chatbot responding to a different question than what the caller had asked or incorrectly disconnecting the call before the caller's questions had been answered. Again, Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, I've experienced that too with the SSA phone lines. They don't really have it down yet, although I do think it will get better. It's just not there yet. Quote, we highlight these recent cases to illustrate our concerns that the agency under the administration appears to be ill-equipped to develop and deploy AI. Now, to be fair, you know what I mean? The Democrats are just throwing cheap shots because it's going to take time for Frank Bisignano to kind of get all of it together, make it work, and do what it's supposed to. He's had not enough time to do that. I think the SSA has to have AI put into it because they can't find enough employees to work there. They lose 1,000 a month. They try to gain 1,000 a month in employees. But to be fair, like, they're not doing so well. Their employment situation is not great. So if they don't have, to be clear, an alternative, a digital AI system with lots of employees, like, they're not going to be able to actually succeed with the SSA as it needs to. Real quick, Diana, thank you for the $5 donation. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Will do. I will get some treats for the pup. Super thank you. Putting a big heart there. Also, everybody, just so you know, Diana's been with us for a very long time. She's one of our longest members, which is absolutely amazing. Please remember to like, subscribe, and become a member because it helps this channel grow. No, I do not hyperfund the channel with whatever I make on it. I actually spend a lot of that money on representing SSI claimants, which is, you just lose money on every claim you win with SSI claimants at this point. It just is what it is. And then basically, just so you know, there are other channels out there that are funded by special interest groups that super lean, from what I've seen, left, that get additional funding to basically just hyper promote videos. Because, the way YouTube works is you can actually promote a video and spend a lot of money, and that will increase the likelihood of that shows up. I don't do that, which is why my channel hasn't grown as much as it potentially could have. But the bottom line is, thank you for your support, because we are marching in a direction that's really incredible, and I hope these videos help you. Okay, quote, by eliminating outdated systems and replacing them with innovative software that has proven to work, we are improving our services for Americans and saving millions each year. That was Commissioner Lee Dudek. He came before Commissioner Frank Bisignano. Quote, we're going to bring AI into the phone system. That was Commissioner Frank Bisignano. Quote, SSA is struggling enough right now with the service levels that it can use the AI tools to improve service and not reduce staff. That was Jack Smulligan, Senior Policy Fellow at the Urban Institute. And I can just keep going on with these quotes, but you basically get it. Democrats do not want AI in the SSA, or if they do have it, they want it to fail because they want Trump to fail through Frank Bisignano. But the reality is we have to have some form of AI because they just can't find enough employees to work there. And to be fair, the reason why that is because the SSA just doesn't pay enough for people to go work there. A lot of the people going to work there, it's their first job. And so, at the end of the day, they get educated, they get training, and then they leave. And that's just basically it. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, how integrated is AI into the Social Security Administration's overall systems? Well, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Let me walk you through it. So there's this thing called Insight. Insight is the decision support software that analyzes disability decisions and case data to provide real-time alerts on potential quality issues. It improves adjudication quality, speed, and consistency. It reduces errors overall. But basically what it is it's your Overwatch group. If somebody makes a decision on a claim, it will review the decision, or prior to the decision being made, it will go ahead and do it will analyze the decision. It will search through your entire record, pull small little minute details, and either prove or disprove that you should be found disabled as a result. This was originally rolled out October 1st, 2017. Okay, so Trump's first go around. Now, the next one, which is the biggie here, Intelligent Medical Language Analysis Generation, Imagen, Intelligent Medical Language Analysis Generation. This tool, the tool that annotates and analyzes medical records to help identify relevant clinical content, impairments, and codes, enhancing efficiency and accuracy in disability determinations. That was rolled out August 20th, 2021. Now, this one, which is Biden era, this one, just so that you understand, will find things that basically throw you under the bus very quickly and very well. If you state something to your doctor, it will go ahead and end up as a bullet point, as a flagged agent. And what it does is they don't call it this, but basically it gives you like a guilty matrix, like what are you guilty of? What did you do wrong? What are you not? You know what I mean? It gives you like a guilt score kind of thing, which is, how good of a potential are you to be found disabled or receive these retirement benefits or receive these supplemental security income benefits. But basically retirement benefits aren't based on medical. But the point is, at the end of the day, this is the program that I'm going to go more into so you understand exactly all the things that happen with it. Because it can be, there's no hiding stuff from the SSA anymore. They have AI searching every aspect of every page that goes through its system, handwritten or not. And it basically pulls out anything that potentially could be used against you. Next one, duplicate identification process, the DIP. DIP was basically created as an AI program in September 1st, 2019, end of Trump era, first go around. Identifies and flags duplicate documents in case reviews for hearings, reduces review times. The handwriting recognition of forms, intelligent document processing platform, forms classification and data extraction, AI unit. That classifies and extracts data from structured and handwritten forms, increasing automation, reducing errors, and shortening customer wait times. So that was January 2nd, 2021 that they released that one, a Biden era program. But basically what it does is it looks at essentially handwritten documents and pulls all the information directly off of it and then puts it into something that's easier to read for the adjudicators. Then there's the MDW AI system, the Modernized Development Worksheet System. That was released on December 1st, 2023. So one of the really, really recent ones. This reviews and categorizes case development data using natural language processing to reduce processing time and wait times. But basically what it does is as you go through the case system, it will figure out where you're at and then post things based off of where you're at. It will be like, an assistant to help, the adjudication team kind of figure out where it's at in the overall process. So think less of this one as like a specific thing, more of like a category review and organizer. Then you have the pre-effectuation review robot AI system, which is the PER. And then you have the targeted denial review TDR model, which is another AI system. That one came out basically in December 1st of 2003. So one of the oldest AIs that they've been using for a long time. It identifies claims with high likelihood of error for review, reducing incorrect benefit payments and ensuring accurate processing. Put another way, if you basically have something in your file that can be tagged to the PER or the TDR system, that means you're very likely to lose benefits because it found something in the system. Now, obviously, there's the CDR-M, the Continuing Disability Review Model AI system, flags disability cases likely to show medical improvement. For basically any continuing disability review. But that one came out recently. That was September 30th, 2023, one of the most recent ones to come out. So just to be clear, remember how they said, hey, we're going to do about 200,000 more reviews of beneficiaries? Well, what they're ramping up to do is that every year they want to be able to go ahead and review a Social Security recipient's benefits using a scanning system. And the continuing disability review model is a big part of that, because what that does is it will flag claims if things pop up in your file that they can find that make you ineligible, or, maybe not as severe as you think you are. We are going to see, as a result of this AI, a lot of people being afraid to talk to their doctor, a lot of people being afraid to communicate what's going on in their life to their mental health providers, because at the end of the day, these AI systems are going to be so good at flagging and pulling information and summarizing it. It'll be able to make people look bad even when that's a pretty good claim for a finding of disability. Because, remember, humans aren't perfect, overall they're not perfect overall beings. And this will be able to pull the negatives of why it shouldn't be a good claim out of it for CDR reviews. But remember, their goal is not to do CDRs every 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, blah, 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 blah. Their goal is to be able to do a CDR every single year on every single recipient. That is their ultimate goal. All right, Social Security income redetermination model. This is an AI model that identifies SSI cases with high expected overpayments for review, aiding in overpayment prevention. So basically, if you are working and you earn too much over SGA and you're on SSI, or you go over the resource limit or something like that, then January 1st, 1999, they had an AI bot that was starting to work on this process of figuring out the details of how to make sure that they don't pay you benefits if they find that you had, basically an overpayment situation going on. And this is one of the earliest AI models that they came out with all the way back in 1999. Then there is a really, really recent AI model that was created on November 1st, 2024. It is the proactive triage and analysis of hearings, the PATH. It flags claims with high likelihood of favorable outcomes for on-the-record decisions prioritizing adjudication. So back in the day, they, didn't like to approve things without going through a full adjudication. And then they changed that now with this as of November 1st, 2024 for the proactive triage and analysis of hearings. And so the whole idea is this: it basically will look through your entire medical record, take all the other AI's information, it will organize it, and then it will figure out, hey, is this a really, really good claim where we don't even need a lot of people to look at this? We can just kind of rubber the stamp this thing and shove it through. And that obviously helps because it gets the easy peasy claims with the low hanging fruit out of the way and gets them found disabled quicker. The next one that is an AI model is from February 1st, 2008. It is the Quick Disability Determinations Model. It screens initial applications to prioritize cases where favorable decisions are likely and evidence is available, expediting the process. So basically, the quick determination model is part of the whole proactive analysis, the proactive triage for an analysis of hearings, the PATH system. And remember, a lot of these work together. Like a lot of them were like a legacy program, and then they created new AI to work with the old AI model. So that's what a lot of this stuff is. But the next one is the mobile wage reporting artificial intelligence bot. This is a program inside their system. It extracts text and data from pay stub images to enable faster wage reporting processing. It's just part of the thing that basically finds where you earned money and what you were paid. They came out with that one May 14th, 2022. Biden's era was all about get that gig economy person. Trump's era is we don't really give a shit about the gig workers because they don't make enough anyways to pay enough taxes, which I think is an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have thought about this, but if you have basically a Democrat in, the Democrats we need to tax everybody. When you have a Republican in, the Republicans are we need to put the tax people where the tax people can get the most benefit, which are people that actually make money. Real money, not they made $50,000. Woo, you know what I mean? Like real money, because most of the people, the grand majority of them, they get more taxes back than what they paid in. And it's kind of funny that when you look at the system, Republicans are well, shit, if we just didn't have a tax refund, all these people wouldn't be getting a tax refund, and we could just focus all of our people on not processing their returns and focus on the people that actually make big money. Again, it's another way to do it. It's not fair to the people who make more money. It kind of F's them over. And then people would say it's not fair to the poor because they're not getting more of the people's money that earned more. But I can see why they keep what they have, but it is a super flippin' inefficient model. It's just obnoxiously inefficient. Then you have the SSA 800 number. It's basically the hotline, phone hotline, the OIG hotline. It's basically the phone systems. AI bot that answers common questions in English and Spanish using Social Security Administration facts. It tries to connect you, if it can, to a person, reduces wait times, records, listens for fraud. Like if you call up the SSA and scream at it or tell the SSA something that might be considered fraudulent, it will automatically go ahead and flag it, put it in your file. They came out with this in June 5th of 2023. They also have the generative artificial intelligence for analytical insights. It analyzes call transcripts and logs. So basically, it will go backwards in time and provide insights on what the caller's intent was, what the resolution was that came of it. It basically studies what you are all saying and tries to find out how to do its system better. It's a learning bot. And the whole point of it is September 30th, 2023, this thing kind of rolled out. And the whole idea with it is that it basically can go back and find fraudsters, especially. So, like, if you're like, if you ever make a call to the SSA and say something, you're like, "Ooh, I wish I hadn't said that." Well, they have a recording of that. And so basically, they can use this, general artificial intelligence for analytical insights bot to go search and find that and then question you in the future, which is going to create a lot of situations where people in the future are being kicked off of benefits based off of things they've said in the past, where the artificial bot could figure out who, what, when, and where of what they were doing. I think this is honestly going to affect a lot of veterans too, because, the VA veterans, they're like, you get people that are like 70%, 90%, 100%. And, they're out there like hardcore fishing, hardcore RVing, hardcore this, hardcore that, hardcore this, hardcore that. And that's kind of fine on the VA side. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of okay for the VA side. It's not okay on the Social Security side, the civilian side, because the VA is much more loosey-goosey when it comes to like, go out, live your life, do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they have an OIG, but they're just not as like aggressive with it. And think about the aspect if they did, if they went after the veterans, ain't nobody going to sign up to be a soldier then. You know what I mean? So they can't really do that. But on the civilian side, they're like, okay, we're going to take the hammer. We're going to hit you over the head with it. And it is what it is. Then you have the PolicyNet plain language search engine. AI bot enhances search for policy information with features like tagging and ranking based on user feedback, improving efficiency. This was one of the most recent ones they came out with. But basically, it allows an AI system to interact with the people who work at the SSA, and it tries to help feed them policy information as they're doing stuff related to a particular topic. That way, it's easier for them to follow policy when they're doing something. They came out with this in September 21st, 2024. So like super recent, and the whole idea of that is just trying to educate the employee base much better, much faster by constantly providing them with what the rule is for a particular situation. Then they have the speech to text video transcription program. So you might remember that like a lot of people are used to like, basically these individuals that transcribe the hearing audio and stuff like that. Now they have a generated transcript from audio recordings of disability hearings, poops out the transcript right into the computer system of the ERE or whatever you basically use. So kind of the bottom line here, just so you kind of understand it, is that this system will essentially automatically figure out everything you said during the hearing. And if there's anything potentially that you said during the hearing that the judge wants to grab or see, or like, they're like, ooh, I remember that. That was a bad thing. We got to look at that. Then when that happens, May 6, 2024, going forward, so this is just recent. This is brand new tech. They'll be able to go and figure out exactly what you said that can be used against you and then use it against you. The next one is the Customer Insight Tool, the CIT. It performs text analysis on customer surveys to identify sentiments, trends, and themes for better service tracking. So basically, if you are unhappy, like, something happens and you're like, well, I'm not happy with the SSA, so I'm going to submit a customer survey as a result. Then this thing basically goes through, figures out what you like, what you didn't like, and see how many people were pissed off by the thing the SSA did. They came out with that on August 1st, 2021. So that was a good one for Biden. Benefit and earnings public use file, AI system. It generates synthetic data for external resources to support policy analysis while protecting privacy. So the whole thing with this, which is interesting because they came out with this in May 1st of 2025, And this is when Doge was like getting into the SSA. But basically, what it does is it generates reports of information while trying to hide specific people's names and information, etc. Now, to be fair, the government usually works this way with sending out information to be audited by third-party nonprofits or government select groups. But there's no way to actually do your job with auditing the government if you don't have access to all the information. You can only like do little piecemeal stuff. And as you can see now, that type of style of government allowing audits to occur where it's just small, unidentifiable information led to mass multi-billion-dollar Somali, Nigerian, Argentinian, it's just significant, massive fraud in the billions and billions of dollars of level, as a result of like this style of audit. And I think everybody's pretty much on the same plane at this point where they're like, look, if you're going to audit it, don't F around. You know what I mean? Like, just do it. Just get it done. Although there are some people who still believe that we should never be able to audit the government or fully audit the government, which I think is kind of weird because, to be fair, like I think some Republicans are that way, but mostly Democrats are that way. And I'm not totally sure, to be fair, like I don't know how. I think a lot of Americans are having a difficult time understanding basic functional aspects of how things work. And here's my theory, and I could be wrong on this. I could be totally wrong on this, but here's the thing. You know how like Americans used to like know somebody who like owned a company, and now fewer and fewer people know people that own a company because mega corporations have just taken over everything. I feel like those people that own companies couldn't tell their friends and like, if you go way back, everybody had a farm. That was the company. But I feel like a lot of the basic skills that people who are employers have are not making it to the people who are employees. And so what's becoming like a norm is hyper manipulation of the human brain to only understand and know employee related things. And that's not good because you just get basically useful voters that vote improperly. You know what I mean? They vote ways that actually hurt their overall like future existence. So it is interesting. I will say this. I am losing a little bit of faith in the human population known as Americans, but it just is what it is. But anyways, this system was brought in. It's the newest one that was created other than, I think this was the newest one, May 1st, 2025. That was the newest one of all the AI programs that was created. Then you have the therapy chatbot text-based mental health support for SSA employees. This one came out September 1st, 2023. So basically, the SSA employees get so beat up and they have to do so much processing and they don't have enough time. And the bosses are kind of known for not being supportive of them, that at the end of the day, they had to create a therapy chatbot that basically provides confidential mental therapy and assessment and support to the employees. It's supposed to be completely like, confidential. And basically, they came out with this because they had so many employees that were just not doing well. And it's really sad how bad the conditions are, but they needed a therapy chatbot literally for the SSA. Now, do I think therapy chatbots will become standardized models? Yeah, I think everybody will have a chatbot on their phone. You know what I mean? Like people that want to feel loved, people that want to feel wanted, people that want to have a thirst trap, upvoted. You know what I mean? It's just, I think absolutely, I think that's going to happen. Then there's the additional AI bot agency support companion chatbot. That's the ASC. It's a generative AI for content creation, summarization, research, and coding assistance for internal staff use. That came out April 16th, 2025. Super ultra new. Basically, it's kind of like an overall bot that can do a lot of the functions that the old bots did, except it's doing it all under one umbrella. And what you have to understand is that most of these bots that are older are going to be sucked into some of these newer ones. Like the ASC system is just going to suck a lot of other systems directly into like its system and then kind of go from there. So that's the thing you just have to kind of keep in mind with this situation, etc. Now, please remember before we go into the next section, which is how the SSA's insight system works and how it basically can find information about you and then let you know. Well, it won't let you know, but it will let an adjudicator know whether or not you should keep your benefits or not. The way this works, this insight system, before we go into it, please remember, I don't do Medicare stuff. So if you have Medicare questions, you want to know about, more about the system, check out Chapter. I've sent, hundreds of people over to them. And basically, ask chapter.org/disability or 339-226-6287. Again, 339-226-6287. Give them a call there because they can answer those questions. I'm just now getting into learning about Medicare, but if you have questions, check in with them. It's just not my base. I am America's most viewed, subscribed to, and clicked on disability attorney. Like in the sense of like choosing a disability attorney online when it comes to like viewing content and stuff. I'm the most, Attorney Walter Hnot is the most viewed, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, I don't do Medicare. So just heads up on that. Now, let's talk about Insight. Insight is an adjudicative, which means like a judgmental. It judges. It's a judgmental AI bot. And it basically judges you and your entire record when it comes to medical documentation. So let's just go through real quick. There are things that it will do, and let me just kind of give you some of the things that you should know about here. Okay. So what it can do? It has natural language capabilities, NLP processing, artificial intelligence. It has 43 quality flags. Okay, now what are the 43 quality flags? Well, nobody knows because they haven't released that to the general public. But basically, it looks for inconsistencies in your record, omissions from your record, policy non-compliant conditions in your record. It looks for 43 different versions of those categories. And what it does is it creates basically a review draft that the adjudicator can then review to see anything at all that potentially pops up. And just to be clear, I know a lot of you guys don't have like a background with, these adjudications, but just to be clear, the thing is this. If you've ever been in a Social Security hearing and you were hoping that the judge was not going to see something, you had a shot at that. You had a shot at that pre-2023. Post-2023, you don't have a shot at that anymore. They're going to know it. They're going to find it. It's going to be automatically rendered with these 43 quality flags into a report that then feeds the judge the information to specifically know how to not give you benefits or how to deny your benefits. And I guess from my perspective, what I'm really trying to have you guys understand is that the next video after this video is going to be about how and what the ALJs search for using a lot of these programs. That way you have a better understanding of exactly what kind of technical things that they're going to find. But just to be clear, this is all about decision quality. They're trying to take away human error from the administrative law judges and build a system that basically will auto assist the AI judge or the judges to go ahead and make a decision. Now, this means that across the entire spectrum of your entire benefit application, receipt of benefits, processing of benefits, it's all handled by AI. AI controls all of this now. There's moments in time where a human judge and adjudicator will make a final choice, but the directional, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the classic thing. The head might be the judge, but the neck is artificial intelligence, and it can turn the head any way that it wants, because that's basically what it has the capacity to do, is the capacity to find things, especially inconsistencies, omissions, and policy noncompliance. And, then of course, if you have those, you're not going to get your check, which is not a good deal. You know what I mean? There used to be a lot more wiggle room with this entire situation. So let me kind of give you some examples of these inconsistency or omissions or policy noncompliance flags. That way you understand exactly what their artificial intelligence program can do. And it gives you a better understanding of what this Insight program will feed to the adjudicators going forward. And again, this is a 2023 thing. So, if you thought, I just hope that I hope the judge doesn't ask me about that. Those days are over. Like the days where I could prepare a claimant and, give them a little bit of advice here and here and here on these dangerous topics. And look, if they come up, they come up. This is how you're going to address them. Those days are over. They are going to come up. They are going to hit you with them, and they're going to hit you with them during the hearing where it's the worst possible time. And let me tell you some of the phrases that they normally come out with, just so you have like an understanding of this. They will usually say, before they're about to hit you with a ridiculously harsh moment, the judge will say to you, I'm not trying to embarrass you. I just have a question from the record. Counselor, when they talk to your attorney about this, I did notice on 34F, page 62, that there was this notation. Or they'll say, it's funny that you said that earlier in the hearing. It is noted in the record this as well. When you hear those phrases, that means the hammer's about to drop. I know when I hear that phrase that the claimant is about to go through what I like to call the rough seat portion. You know, when the claimant has a hearing and they get in their chair, whether it's at home or at the hearing office or whatever, but they get into their chair and they sit and they just relax and they're like, okay, 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 okay. I'm nervous. When's this hearing going to come and bite me in the butt? Here comes the judge. Oh my goodness. For the first 5 to 10 minutes, when the claimant sits in that chair, right, the chair that they're going to be sitting in for the hearing, they're sweating, they're soggy, they're gassy. They're all the above. It's all over the place. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. And so as a result of that, you know, you have to understand that they're not going to produce a good outcome right in the beginning. That's why when the hearings are set up where we have the attorney and the judge talking about general stuff at the very beginning, I love that because it gives the claimant like 5 minutes of just hearing the judge and the attorney talk about housekeeping stuff. That means by the time we get to the direct and cross examination portion of the claimant, you know, they've already been sitting there 5, 10 minutes. They're just kind of hanging out and they're like, okay, cool. The questions are coming. The questions are coming. Now, my claimants usually have a lot of training with the questions because I've found that the number one reason claimants get denied, especially when they come from big box law firms, is that they're not trained on what to go over. They'll just tell them like, okay, why do you have a difficult time kneeling? Why do you have a difficult time climbing stairs? Why do you have a difficult time, remembering your friends' names? Right? They'll just do like the basic, easy questions, but they don't even outline like what are your top 5 impairments and then structurally go through them, which I always thought was weird because like if you're an attorney and you want to win it, you should make the weakest link, which is the claimant, as strong as you can. They're a shit show until you really mold them into the thing that can answer that judge's questions. And remember, claimant's not usually a doctorate or postdoctorate level human being. Claimant's usually like Bob, Kathy, Jordan, Mirabelle. They're just a sloppy, fur all over the place. What are we doing today? How and they're disabled, whether it's a mental or physical impairment. If it's physical, they're usually on pain medications and they're, all over the place. Or it's mental, like good luck trying to get them on a straight line. That's the whole point of these questions. Get you to answer the questions to make you unlikely to say something that's going to bite you in the butt. Mary Multiple, good to see you there. Thank you for the $9.99 donation. Putting a big heart there. I super appreciate that. Super thank you. Miss you, Walter. You're the best. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that because, I really try to give you guys the information you need to successfully interact with this program. And also, I try to give you information that is technically allowed, but not generally released to the public. There's like a fine line there, and I'm always very aware of it. But or if it's released to the public, like the public can't find it, you know what I mean? But I always try to give you, a little bit over the wall look so that you guys understand what's going on. And as you've probably noticed, like I've kind of politically, as a person that looks at this whole system, I've kind of gotten a little bit cranky towards the D side because I feel like they're supposed to be the champions of this program and pushing this program to achieve more. And they just have abused the F out of welfare benefits and the Republican side abused the F out of the Medicare system, with their giant Medicare, oh, of course we did this treatment and that treatment and this treatment and that treatment, blah, blah, blah. But, I've been harsh on them. And I don't want you to think I've given up on them. Like when it comes to Democrats, the lower level Democrats, awesome people. The higher level Democrats, worse than Hollywood. It's not good. And, Republicans have their own problems, their own issues. But it is what it is. So, all right, let's go through some of these examples real quick, so that specifically you understand kind of like what they flag inside the system. So let's say that inside your medical record, there are inconsistencies between severity findings. And, basically, where they look through and they see one doctor says you're really bad. One doctor says you're not bad at all. One doctor says you're moderate. And one doctor says you have no problem at all. Those are major flags where they're going to write those down. And it's going to end up in front of the ALJ, where basically it will tag it and make it easy for them to see those particular problems. Now, just to be clear, let's say that basically, you have one record that says as an inconsistency that you applied, like you stated that you applied, I don't know, to 20 jobs after being found disabled. And then there's another record where you told your doctor that you didn't apply for any jobs thereafter after you became disabled or claimed to become disabled. That's an inconsistency. It's going to be flagged. It's going to be popping up. Next one is omissions of required findings or explanations, like failing to basically, let me give you a classical one. This is what Bender and Bender used to do. This is why Bender and Bender kind of like fell off the wagon there for a long time, because I mean they were fined. They got a huge slap on the wrist on that one, because what they do is they red dotted files. They put a little red dot on a file that was medical evidence that they didn't want to submit in because it wasn't pro claimant. So I mean that was a big thing in the industry. That was huge. Like the red dotting of files, that was huge. But the thing is, this AI program will catch that now. So let's say that like you go to the doctor, and then you go to the doctor, and then you go to the doctor, and then you go to the doctor. Well, the third time you went to the doctor, magically those those pages of medical review where you had a test magically didn't make it into the system, right? Just magically didn't end up in the system. When that happens, when the medical records like magically don't make it into the system, this new AI system will go ahead and find it, and then it will red flag it for the ALJ, so that the ALJ knows, hey, what the hell? There is a chunk of this medical record that's missing, right? Where did it go? Where's your appointment? Where's the MRI? Where's the medical output test? Where's the machine that said boop, boop, boop? Here's the output. And so now it's made it easier for judges to be like, there was some missing documentation here. What happened? That's why with me, whatever comes from the doctor, I submit it, because there's a materiality problem. Like if you say, oh, I don't think this is material, this is maybe material. No, I don't do it that way. Whatever comes from the doctor, whatever comes from the medical facility goes in. Okay. There's no like read through to see what's material. No, it just goes in, because the thing is this. They're going to know, right? The SSA, after the whole Binder and Binder thing, the SSA has been like pissy about the whole material, what's material and what's not material, because they don't want you submitting anything like a picture of banana, right? Oh, look at this picture of banana. Find me disabled. Obviously not material, but like anything that comes from a medical facility, just submit it. Anything, everything, all of it, just boop, submit it. I don't do the whole, I'm just going to pick through it and see what's here. No, just back office, submit the whole thing. If there's a problem, something's missing from it, that's what we got. That's what we submitted. Next thing, policy noncompliance in residual functional capacity assessments. So let's say that basically let's say that you told your doctor that you were out there, I don't know, mowing a lawn, right? Let's say you were mowing the lawn, right? And it would require you to walk a push mower. And yet when you go to the RFC to get assessed by the SSA's, medical doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, can you walk more than 5 feet? And you're like, no, I can't walk more than 5 feet. And then the record shows that your property size is, let's say, an acre. You have a push behind mower. You have pushed that mower and you went to the doctor one time because you rolled your ankle after pushing it and mowing the entire acre minus the house or the curtilage or whatever. So like, the bottom line is like, they got you. Now you can, that's when the attorney comes in and says, well, Your Honor, that was the beginning of the end of them being able to da. After that point, they weren't able to mow it thereafter. The proof of that is in such and such, on 23F page 52 and 56F page 21, and that's when the lawyer comes in to like bail your ass out. But, keep in mind, like, just to be clear with this, like, this is going to become all this stuff very, very open, available, able to be seen, etc. by these judges. Like, if you think you're going to hide shit, you're not. You're not. Another thing would be basically, let's say that basically there was a vocational analysis and they cited jobs, and this could go against SSA personnel too. Like if it was a vocational expert that cited jobs that you could potentially do that are just unrealistic. So like if you have a or a person that's blind in one eye but not blind in the other eye, and that's part of his impairment is that he can't do near far. He can't tell how far away something is, and you give him a job where he's just got to drive all day. Like that's just not reality. You know what I mean? Like you just, you can't have a commercial over the road 18-wheel truck driver with one bad eye. Like you can't do that. That's like stupidity plus steroids on top of more stupidity. You can't do that. So, if they come out with you'd be a delivery truck driver. And he's blind in one eye and the other eye's not amazing, then it will come out against the SSA personnel, the vocational expert, although they would claim it's not SSA personnel, even though they hire and pay for, and can send whatever forms they want to for updates to the vocational expert. But again, if you guys want a really good vocational expert company to potentially get a report made You can always email me. I can send it off. But when you guys email me, remember, you're not going to get an email within 5 minutes. It might be 4 days later. It might be 5 days later, whatever. Or if I miss it, you got to remember, I have to take care of the clients first, because with a lot of these YouTubers, they're like either a disabled person, or they work for the SSA, or they did this or this or that. Like, they're retired now. You know what I mean? They're done. Me, I got to work I own a law firm that does this, a lot of claims, and I've owned it for damn near 13 years. So you got to remember, I got to take care of the clients first. And back office, to be fair, is rampantly pissed at me about how many people email with questions that are not clients. So just as a heads up, you go into a folder, and if we ever get to that folder, which I try to help people out, I set a little side of time, once a week to go ahead and look at the folder. Just as a heads up, I try to help people out. But when you get like 1,000, hey, can I do, guys, you know what I mean? Mission impossible, and no, I'm not going to hire a person just to answer questions for people who aren't clients of the firm. Okay. Just remember, you got to pay somebody that knows legal knowledge, does the blah, 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 da, 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 da. They're like $25 an hour. You know what I mean? And so if you take $25 an hour and you multiply it by 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, shit gets expensive real fast. So, remember this, it's not monopoly money. There's not enough real money, and the real money was hyper devalued in Bidenomics. So it is what it is. All right. Another one is, sorry for going off on a tangent there. I just, after the whole Biden economy thing, it's just, so I don't know if you guys know this, and I'm not going to do a lot on this, because I know how you guys hate when I go off on tangents. Some of you love it, but I don't know if you know this, but any of that law firm ability to donate time stuff got wiped out. Everything got so expensive that there was no extra time to hire extra people to handle stuff. It's law firms had to shrink in size, get rid of people that they've had for 10 years. It just, if you all could just start voting for people that are not idiots, I would appreciate it. From a financial standpoint, people who understand how business works. It could be a Democrat, could be a Republican. They have them on both sides. The Democrats have none at the top. They're all in the middle or bottom. So if you could just find a Democrat that's not part of that whole, conspiracy Illuminati level shit, I would so appreciate it. You know what I mean? I'd really appreciate it. Not all Republicans know how finances work. We have some Republicans in there where they'll come out and say something, and I'm like, geez Louise, talk to your fellow politicians, because that is not how the economy works. But again, if you could just do me a favor, can you vote smarter, please? You know what I mean? I don't think it's a lot to ask, but it's getting real tough to do the kindness law, which is what I do. Working with disabled, working with retired, working with, disabled vets. It's getting tougher to do that kind of law. So if you guys could just, I see Leanne put, you're not getting rid of me, Walter. Leanne, you have to call me. You've never called me over the past, I think, year, although we're only in February. So I will forgive it, but I have no calls from you. I have missed you for years. How is your little doggy? He looks adorable in the photos. So with that said, let me give you some more examples. Additional flags, isolated jobs. So if you get a job that is hyper rare or location specific, that there's no way that they can tie that to other jobs. So let's say you are let's just make up a magical job. Let's say you are a unicorn horn polisher, right? Unicorn horn polisher, a really, really specific, specialized job. You got to A, know where the unicorns go, B, have the right special unicorn juice to polish them, and then you got to be able to tame them, grab them, ride them, polish the horn, and then be done, right? So let's say you get the job of unicorn horn polisher. That's going to be flagged inside their system, because they're going to be like, wow, cool. Are you from Harry Potterville? Are you not? Can't you just magically use a wand to fix your problems? Blah, blah, blah. But again, more seriously, on the unicorn, this is why they won't let me be a judge. This is why right here. They're not going to, maybe a TV judge. They might let me be a TV judge. All right. So the point is, just to be clear, if there's a weird job that's going to be flagged, something, if you're a cashier, yeah, standard, everybody does that. Got it. If you are a unicorn horn polisher, then they're going to be like, oh, what do we, because remember, at the end of the day, they have to be able to try and find jobs that you could do, And if it's just like if you have the job of like dragging, descaling, belly rubber or something, like some weird shit job like that, then it's hard for them as an agency to find other jobs that you potentially could do within the job of dragging, descaling belly rubber. It's not a common job. It's just not a common job at all. Another example, you see me like running away from that point. Another example would be basically like, okay, so let's say that you make one statement and then you make another statement, right? So let's say that like one statement, you're like to your doctor, you're like, yeah, I don't need my, wheelchair. And then you say to another doctor, you're like, I need the wheelchair. And then they look at the dates and the dates are right around the same time. That's an inconsistency. They're going to flag you, and then boop, you're going to get hit with more of a review from essentially, the administrative law judge. And then there's other things too. Like if you omit a job, if you're like, no, I never worked a job, and yet in the IRS documentation it shows that you worked at, let's call it the Honey Badger's honey obtaining emporium, right? Then they're going to be like, hey, what did you do at the Honey Badger honey obtaining emporium? In that country that's not this country. Like, what did you do exactly there? Like, did you feed honey badgers? Did you snarkle the bees out of their honey? Like, what did you do? Then another one is like if you have a lot of non-compliance with medications, non-compliance where you are mixing a bunch of medications with other medications. Maybe you're a drug user, a drug abuser, an alcoholic, a non-alcoholic. Maybe you're abusing, and just so smoking, cigarettes, vapes, hookahs, weird shit that you can buy online, but you shouldn't. That kind of stuff always ends up in the report as well. It always is. So like how much you smoke. Oh, I only smoke one cigarette a day. And then you go back and it's like smokes 2 packs a day. I've never understood that. I don't know if you guys think that that's like cool to say that or whatever, but if you're homeless and you smoke 2 packs a day, like, I just need to know where you got the money tree, because my money tree just is a sad bush that doesn't actually, it just has pennies. I mean, that's all it makes at this point. Just pennies, just a money penny bush. That's it. That's all I got. If you got a money tree, you can buy 2 packs of cigs a day, then I am impressed. Now, of course, the claimant always goes, well, they're the cheap cigars. And on my birthday, I buy a 305 and doopa 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 doo and shenanigans and Pop-Tarts. Yeah, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, remember that stuff is all going to pop up. All right. So just keep in mind, personally identifiable information, transactional payment data, claim adjudication data, call logs, things that you've said to the SSA previously, allegations you've made on hotlines, any improper payments that they might have made to you. This is all along with cybersecurity. Like if your social security number got stolen and they can track it, that gets tagged into the system. So it's just, to be honest with you, like there's no, and you got to remember something too. That's like a lot of the internal stuff. They also use external stuff. Like a lot of you think like, oh, they're just going to blah, 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 inside my little system. No. They've death records, financial payments, government payments, banking data, to fraud reports, scam reports, third-party reports, dark web data breaches, like, where your stuff ends up in the dark web, and then they got to go figure out what they can look at, what they can use to adjudicate you, verification data that they come into, basically forensic evidence, data evidence, there's all kinds of things, especially with OIG, that they can let AI go ahead and just peruse around. Just think of AI as like a little ant, and just is really good at reading, and it reads through all these different things, both internal and external, especially when OIG is involved. And I guess my point to you, just so that you understand it, so that you understand like the process of this, is that we don't live in a society anymore where you can get away with human stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can little white lie a little bit, or you can or you're like, I hope it doesn't come up. You don't live there anymore. The final thing I want to leave you with, because it's important, it's this. They made a document in 2025, and he did a good job. I gotta props out to this guy, the Brian Peltier, Chief AI Officer. I mean, it's a good report. He did a good one. Enterprise Artificial Intelligence Strategy for the Social Security Administration. Specifically over here, there's basically a system of assessment to see where the SSA is at. I'm just going to read to you what they call AI maturity assessment. Again, AI, God, my hand hurts. I've been doing too much outside work. Now, this hand got burned. I have a machine, and the exhaust pipe fell out of it, or like unscrewed on its own. And this is the second time I've done this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I do have an idiot mode that I turn on sometimes. So I reached down to grab it off the ground, and of course, exhausts are hot, and it burns the hell out of my hand. But my buddy who was there with me had this burn cream, and I had to run over, put it in water, and then I had to put burn cream on it, and it didn't bubble up at all. Like, it looks like totally normal now. But when I did it the first time, my hand was all bubbly and crap. But I knew when I grabbed it and I went to go throw it, because you don't just drop it. Like, when you grab something super hot, you throw it. You go like, ah, right? I knew that I was up shit's creek because I could feel the metal of it basically sticking like glue to the skin on my hand. So just, is what it is. Yes, I will do more farm videos. I have like terabytes of footage to like edit. I just haven't gotten a chance, because it's like, when you're like America's most viewed, subscribed, you clicked on disability attorney, all you do is pretty much just that stuff. And it does not pay well. I got to be honest. It is not what I thought it would be, but is what it is. Anyway, so basically under the maturity assessment for AI and where the SSA is at, I'm going to read to you the options, and then I'm going to tell you where they believe they're at with their AI maturity. So level 1, initial processes are performed in an ad hoc fashion. Processes are typically not across all organizational areas and are primarily reactive. Right. So that's like the most simple, shit's not really working that well. They have AI, but it doesn't intercommunicate between systems. Level 2, established. Some processes are planned and executed in accordance with a system in early stages of development. Processes are not used across all organizational areas. So basically they've got it, it's established, they're running with some stuff, but it's not all over the place, and not everything talks to each other. Level 3, defined processes are standardized, consistently followed, and specifically utilized according to organizational guidelines. Processes are achieving their purposes, but are still not at their full potential scope of effectiveness that they could be. That's level 3. Level 4 is managed. Process metrics are defined and used, and process performance is managed across the organization. Standardized government and architectures are well integrated into the operations and consistently performing as expected. That's where like everything runs, and now you're into like just manage it mode. That's where you're like just managing data that comes from it to make it better. Then you have level 5, optimized. That's where your process performance is optimized and characterized by high efficiency, excellent integration, and continuous improvement. Quantitative objectives for service productivity improvements have been established and are continually revised to adjust for changing service objectives. Keep in mind, I cut off the words some here, so I just kind of filled in with what I thought it said. But bottom line is this. They conducted an interview with SSA executives and AI practitioners for the maturity assessments. They scored basically a level 2 out of 5. So like level 2 out of 5. SSA has many years of traditional AI experience, and also agrees basically. And I'll go over to the next page here. Okay, so bottom line is, so the whole idea is this. They got 5 levels. They're at level 2. So you can understand that the SSA is going to put a lot of money, a lot of time into essentially achieving a level 3, a level 4, level 5. By the time they get to level 4, pretty much you're not really going to be interacting with many humans at the SSA. The SSA's entire system, for the most part, is going to be artificial intelligence interaction, and they're just going to have humans looking at processes and deciding if something has to be changed with a variance. But for the most part, by the time they get to 4 or definitely level 5, like you probably won't even talk with an SSA employee at all in your life. Now, to be fair, artificial intelligence is going to be like capitalism on steroids. It's going to make money happen in ways that you never thought possible before. It's going to make things hyper efficiently. If you want resources, it's going to be able to quantum entangle particles to create a banana that you eat out of a box from your kitchen. So like, just to be fair, this idea of retirement benefits, it's not going to be around for 20 years. And I know some of you are like, of course it is. It's not. It's just not. It's not. It's just not. There's going to be a payout to you, and then basically everybody will get a check to some degree, because AI will take over most of the functional jobs. Oh, what about an electrician or a tile layer or a plumber or or a computer assistant or a receptionist or a cash register checkout person? All that shit's going to be done by AI. It's all going to be robots. It's all going to be done. You're really not going to need to go out into the world okay, and do stuff that you don't want to. You're not going to have a job. You will be able to work if you want to for additional money to get additional stuff to enhance your on earth experience. If you want to get the Freedom Plus package, you'll be able to work and do that. But the days of humans working like this, where you go to an office, you go to the third floor, you walk to your desk, your manager walks by and says, "I'm going to need you to get the blue reports ready by 5." All those days are just coming to an end. It's coming to an end. More working class, able-bodied people will be getting a check just like you do. That's the future. All right. So it just is what it is. I know some of you don't like that. I don't honestly know if I'm going to like it or not like it. But it's just one of those things where that is the future. I mean, look, if I could play guitar and just have fun and eat Pop-Tarts and basically find a job where I could polish a unicorn horn and just be remember, that's not a joke related to, that was a joke that we did before about how the SSA gauges jobs that you potentially could transcribe or transfer, your working skills to another job. It was not I know some of you have dirty minds, so I'm just trying to, hey, that unicorn is a classy unicorn. Okay, the point is, we're getting off the unicorn. Point is, the future is going to be a lot more people being in a similar situation like you guys who are disabled and retired, but probably the checks will be better, right? To keep people happy. All right. With that said, I'm going to go to the next video in about 10, 15 minutes. Attorney Walter Hnot. Hope all is well. Please remember to like and subscribe. Also, at the end of the day, please remember to take care of yourself and be nice to each other. Please remember to hype the video. Also, if you have Medicare questions, remember, I'm learning about Medicare and getting deeper on it, but I don't have answers. So point is, if you have Medicare questions, call them here. Chapter 339-226-6287. They've helped hundreds of people. I've only heard positive things, so is muy bueno. With that said, please remember, if you need a private session, the mini contract is below for a 30-minute or 60-minute. That's where you like to call me up and give me an impossible scenario and say, fix it. Or you have an attorney and they didn't run hearing questions with you and you're like, fix it. It's like 3 days before your hearing. It's usually like a week to 3 days before the hearing. It's like, hey, I just need to hire you immediately to go ahead and run hearing questions with me. Oh, when's your hearing? Immediately. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I got it. So anyways, I will catch you all very soon. Rock and roll, and we'll go from there. Attorney Walter Hnot, thank you so much, and see you in 10 to 15 minutes. Catch you later, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.